We're joined by PWC U.S. Chairman Tim Ryan, and we're going to get your read, well, your company's survey, rather, on the CEO sentiment out there. It looked like it was a little down from last year. What's going on with the CEO community?
Yeah, Julia, thank you. It's good to be here. We launched our 23rd Annual Global CEO Survey yesterday, and it showed a record decline in CEO optimism around global growth. I think that all goes back to the uncertainty that's out there. We look at everything that's going on. We think about trade, geopolitics, protectionism, regulation. It's caused a little bit of a pessimism out there. So not a surprise, but without a doubt, certainly influencing some of the thinking.
But not only that, they're also not so upbeat on their own company growth prospects, and that you think that correlates with the global economy's growth prospects as well, right?
We saw a little bit of a conundrum because we also survey not just your views of the global economy, but we also survey how confident you feel in your ability to grow revenues over the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. And while that was a decline from previous years, it's still pretty high. So what's interesting is while the general view of global growth is a little bit down, what we're seeing is CEOs' confidence in their ability to grow their own revenues still very high. And I think that goes over the last couple of years. They're confident in their ability to control what they can control and to go out there and compete for market share. So that's still pretty strong.
Tim, who is right and who is wrong? President Trump gave a pretty widely watched speech today, pitching a lot of economic optimism, which stands in stark contrast to this survey's findings.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, you got to get drawn underneath the details. What we see, even company by company that we meet with, they're feeling pretty good about their own growth prospects. I think what you're hearing is we'd like it to be even better if we get some certainty. And what the survey really highlights from my perspective is the uncertainty. So as we negotiate different trade agreements across the world, as we look to reduce the fraction of regulation that's out there, I think what you're seeing is not a question of right and wrong, but more certainty will bring even more economic confidence and ability to invest.
So on the heels of the phase one U.S. China trade agreement, and then President Trump said today that, look, very shortly we're going to start phase two negotiations. Right. Do you think that probably helps with the kind of an uptick in the certainty, I would suppose?
I do, and it's important to point out the survey was done in October, November timeframe. It would be interesting to see if we did it today, because here we are a couple months later, you've got phase one USMCA in place. So I think directionally we feel a little bit better than what the survey is indicating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Looking out towards the back half of the year, the president suggested, at least to me, that the U.S. economy will strengthen and re-accelerate in the back half of the year. Yeah. Based on all your CEO conversations at WEF, is that likely?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've had a number of meetings just in the last 2 days, and that is what we're hearing. And that's also what we have heard over the last couple of months back in the States from our CEOs. There is a sense of confidence that there's a lot of really good signs in the economy in terms of consumer strength, companies investing, a lot of investments in technology. So I think we do feel pretty good about the momentum of the economy.
Well, another big theme at the World Economic Forum, of course, is stakeholder capitalism. I just feel like we're almost at a watershed moment that this has come up over and over. Do you feel confident, based on your conversations with CEOs, that we'll actually start seeing some of this implemented? Yeah,
so it's a great question, and without a doubt, over the last year, and when you think about BRT in August, you think now here at the World Economic Forum, we're hearing about that. I do feel like we're at a tipping point. What I see behind the scenes over the last couple of years, there has been a lot of activity around taking care of people, investing in communities. I think you'll see more transparency, more of a willingness to invest. And I think it starts from some really good things that have been happening over the last couple of years.
But do you think corporate America is at the point, most particularly CEOs, that they're willing to give up 1 penny a share to go ahead and go all in on stakeholder capitalism? It could be more pennies, but maybe a penny.
So Brian, what I would say is, let me reframe the question. CEOs understand what's important to all their stakeholders, and it's not necessarily a question of do you invest in a penny for something that doesn't tie back. Investing in people is good for the bottom line. Investing in communities strengthens people who can buy your products. Investing in your own employees with upskilling helps give innovation and whatnot. I think you're seeing more of a willingness to invest in those types of things that will also be good for business. What I don't hear in the C-suite is it's either or. This is the right way to go make money and get a sustainable economy.
I want to talk about the future of work, because when I think of the future, I think of this young generation. There was a teenager panel here with Greta Thunberg and many other activists. And you have to wonder, because these are the next future workers, voters, future investors, are companies doing enough to prepare for that? Because, they're going to be working very soon. And what does that future look like?
Yeah, so it's funny. I tell people, with all due respect to former CEOs, there's never been a more challenging time to be a CEO because you have so many stakeholders. But in many respects, it's easy if you listen. And when you listen to your consumer base, you listen to your future employees or current employees, they're telling you what the answer is. For example, they're telling you they want to be invested in upskilling. They're telling you we're worried about our job relevance. What are you going to do for me as an employer to help me stay current in a world that's going to keep moving faster and faster? And I'm seeing more and more CEOs listening to that. And a great example is 3 years ago here at the World Economic Forum, upskilling was barely on the agenda. Today, 3 years ago, it's mainstream. You're seeing companies across the U.S. invest in their employees for upskilling because it's good for employees and it's good for business.
What do those investments look like?
So a couple of things. You're seeing investment in basic skills. So how do you build a bot? How do you build an automation? How do you learn human-centered design badge where you learn about how to solve problems differently? And then you are seeing also investments in teaching employees critical skills like data analytics, and in some cases even trying to take people with base knowledge, teaching them artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and the like. We're seeing that across the board.
Well, Tim, I don't know if you can name names, but can you name some names of folks who are just getting it right when it comes to the upskilling?
So one of the things we do is we don't necessarily talk about clients, but I'll tell you what we do at PWC, because we, in this particular moment, we actually feel like we're a leader in this space. 3 years ago in the US, we launched a program called Your Tomorrow, where we said to our employees, as long as you opt in, we're not going to leave you behind. Because we even knew with a highly educated workforce, they were worried about their job relevance. Over the last 3 years, we've invested $500 million in each of the last 3 years, upskilling our employees, and we've not mandated it, and we have an 87% engagement rate where our employees are taking advantage of the programs we have. It helps us, helps our clients, most importantly, it helps them stay relevant.
Well, Tim Ryan, PWC Chairman for the U.S., thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
at Davos.
Julia.